हम जैसी जिंदगी आजकल जीते हैं, the kind of stressed life that we have, a word that keeps coming up in conversations these days is burnout. अब ये burnout क्या है exactly? If you're actually going through it, what should you do to deal with it? And how should people around you help you become your support when you are going through this? इसी बारे में बात करने के लिए we're really honored to have with us today Mr. Vikas Gupta, who is the CEO worldwide for the Resiliency program. Mr. Gupta, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Nitin, and thank you everyone who is listening to this show. Thank you very, very much.
बहुत बहुत खुश हूँ that you're here today and we know that you're a busy man and you've taken out time to be here with us. So, जो ये word है burnout, it's such a confusing word because a lot of people, they will not even know that they're going through this. But what exactly is burnout and why are people talking about it so much today?
This burnout, this actually is not new. This burnout came into picture in 1908, right?
1908?
Yes. There's a Yerkes-Dodson law, which basically plots your stress on x-axis and your performance on y-axis.
Okay.
So it means if you have, and it says that a human being needs certain degree of stress to be more productive, to be at the optimal performance level.
Right.
अगर स्ट्रेस कम होगा तो ऑप्टिमल परफॉर्मेंस लेवल पे नहीं पहुंच सकते, और अगर स्ट्रेस ज़्यादा होगा तो वो बर्नआउट में रिजल्ट करता है.
मतलब एग्जैक्ट स्ट्रेस होना चाहिए.
राइट. सो अगर आप ग्राफ देखेंगे इसका, तो द ग्राफ गोज इन like this, like a sine wave, right? So x-axis, which is your stress, y-axis, which is your performance. If x-axis and y-axis, they're very close to each other, then your stress is low, your performance is low, right? So you need some stress to be at the optimal level of performance. But if this stress increases, then the graph comes down, which means now you're going under burnout. So it's basically exhaustion, fatigue, and burnout.
Wonderful. So basically some level of stress is good.
Some level of stress you absolutely require. See, stress is a point in time. Right. I might be very much stressed right now because I have an exam. But this is a good stress. Right? Stress is not always bad stress. There is good stress, there is bad stress. Good stress motivates you. Right. It helps you do wonders. Right? But bad stress, which is like the stress which is prolonged for long periods of time. Right? Where I am stressed every day, and it is going on for months. That results in burnout. That results in your mental fatigue. It could give rise to your physical fatigue and then burnout. So that's what burnout is.
You spoke about exam stress. We will come back to that topic a little later. But, it is really concerning that normally whenever someone's going through a burnout, people start thinking of it, as a personal weakness. They start thinking कि इसमें कोई कमी रही होगी. He's not able to handle what he's going through, whatever. And that's very concerning because someone who's going through it actually needs a lot of support from people around him or her. Right? What do you want to say about that? What can we do to make sure that the support we give to people who are going through a burnout is probably stronger and they come out of it quicker?
See, this is a great question. And I think as a society we failed. Right? It's not like somebody is having chaat papadi on a Wednesday evening and will go on the high-rise building on Thursday morning and commit suicide. It doesn't work that way. If we fail to notice those signals for the people around us, right? So we should be the one who should be shameful actually for not recognizing these symptoms in the people who are around us, not talking to them, not giving them that support, right? It should be the organization who should be shameful about one of my employees has committed suicide. It cannot be another way around, but unfortunately that is. So that's the mindset you have to change, right? It's not the person who is committing suicide or the person who is burnt out. This is not his responsibility. This is our responsibility. Right? So, in a nutshell, when what you said that they feel, as if it's a stigma kind of a thing, right? So the idea is that we have to deal with it. We have to make sure that we are their support centers, right? Your organization is your support center. Recently, an IIT IEM graduate committed suicide in New York. And he worked for a very big organization, right? I won't take the name of the organization, but it's in news, right? Now, whose responsibility is it? Is it the employee's responsibility? When I join a new company, I'm excited. New boss, new office, new people, new work, I'm excited. There is no reason for me to commit suicide or get burnt out. 6 months down the line, I'm thinking, shit, कहाँ फंस गए बॉस? तनख्वाह भी अच्छी नहीं मिलती, बॉस चिल्लाता रहता है, कोई टाइमिंग का स्केड्यूल नहीं है, सुबह 6 बजे कॉल आ गया, देयर इज नो एप्रिसिएशन ऑफ माय वर्क. That leads to burnout.
And unfortunately, what you're saying is true, but you can't I mean, the law doesn't allow to, usually hold such people accountable. So if someone goes through a stress or a burnout, and for example, कई cases में होता है that abetment to suicide होता है whatever, but usually companies will probably go scot free. You can't really prove कि उनकी वजह से कुछ हुआ, and
See,
that's really
because
disheartening.
see, committing suicide or something like that is always a personal choice, right? To be very honest, right? But companies have processes in place, right? But when people talk about company, I have heard so many human resource managers who come out in support of the companies and say, "Oh, this is not company's fault," the employee who committed suicide should have done this, he should have done this, he should have gone to a doctor, he should have talked to his friend, he should have talked to the human resources, blah 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 blah. So I have actually seen people defending companies, right? Because they think that company, but they don't understand that people make a company, right? Your human resources is not there to protect your desks and benches and computers and all that stuff. You are there to protect people, right? The employees. And that's what they forget, right? They don't want any blame on the company. But they forget that these people who just committed suicide, right, or who are undergoing stress or who are undergoing a lot of burnout, right, they are the company. Right? So that's the mindset which human resources have to change. And I've seen many young human resource professionals in the market or who are working, with great companies, right? They have very little experience about what stress is all about, what kind of, what burnout is all about. And they take it as a disease, as something like, oh, nobody should say that our company has burnout. Right. Burnout is not a disease. Burnout is an occupational phenomenon. Burnout is declared an occupational phenomena by World Health Organization in 2019. It is also included in International Classification of Diseases, Chapter 11.
Wow, I didn't know that. Thank you for that.
Right? So, and moreover, United Nations goals, right, puts mental wellness in four of its goals out of 17, which talks about equality and fairness, which talks about education, which talks about mental well-being itself as a category as point number 3 in United Nations Charter. So it's a global phenomenon, it's a global problem, but it is not something which is not treatable. Right. It is not something which is, where you cannot really do anything about it. You can actually do a lot of things about it. Correct. Right? All you need to do is get a positive mindset, understand the people.
In this scenario today, everyone keeps talking about inclusion and how there should be no gender disparity in anything, and everyone is equal. There's a lot of talk about how women should also get equal pay. And in sabke beech mein, when you talk about burnout, the statistics say that usually women experience burnout more than men do. Now there could be a lot of reasons. For example, if you look at the scenario in India, a working woman will also be working in office. She has that stress to cope with. Then she'll go back home. There'll be a lot of work at home also. She'll be taking care of her kids also. So the work is manifold. So is that a reason? And how can we reduce this gender disparity? And what do you think organizations can do to reduce the gender disparity so that everyone's treated equally and we don't see this? We don't see that women are going through this burnout more than men.
See, I have a lot of respect for women, not because they are women, but because I think that they have multiple roles. Absolutely. Right? Unlike men, right? And I'm a man, so I know my role. But when I see my wife, when I see my mother, I see different people in them. Right. They have a role of a wife, a mother, a girlfriend, a wife, right, a sister. So they play so many roles, and then an employee. So their hands are kind of packed, right? They have to practically take care of everyone. And whether that's right or wrong, we are not going to go into that. But that's how the social structure is, right? So they have to juggle a lot. So companies can actually do a lot of stuff to give them, work-life balance, right? But then you would argue, what is work-life balance? There is no work-life balance actually. Right? After COVID-19, work-life balance, there is nothing called like that. It's now work-life integration. How you're integrating your work and life together. When I get an email at 7 a.m. in the morning, am I replying to it? I'm supposed to now. Yes. Because it's like taken. It's like, yes, मैंने सुबह message भेजा तो just response करो. Right? So it's about work-life integration going forward. Right? So companies can support women by giving them, for example, daycare services for their kids, so that they are not worried about the kids, right? give them more time off, or so that they can manage their personal work as well as their official work, right? Make sure that they are not overworked, right? That is one big problem in any organization, right? But then, there are always people who will say, फिर उनको ये special चीज़ क्यों मिल रही है?
And I mean, I would like to play the devil's advocate here, because the point is, like, for example, if you look at the urban setup, we're not talking about the rural setup. In the urban setup, for example, like I go home and I also work at home, right? So I'm doing my regular job, but when I go home, I also take care of the household chores and everything. So I make sure I do that also. So when you say this, then I would expect that my employee should understand men also, because today men are also working at home, men are also taking care of their kids. Like, I know that it's a little funny incident, but when my friend had a child, so they decided that the morning nappies would be changed by the wife, and the evening onwards would be changed by my friend, because he was going out and working, and she had taken a maternity leave. So the point is that both of them are working at home. So yes, you're right. Men would start thinking that it's probably unfair to us then.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we do that. I mean, men have started doing some work after
Yeah,
COVID-19.
lots of work, sir. Don't say some work.
Right,
I'm going to speak for the men over here.
But we are still talking about the masses, right? We're still talking about the general expectation of a society, right? Which is always there, right? Your the in-laws expect something, right? I mean, they don't expect their son to come and cook dinner for them.
My parents do.
I mean, of course. Well,
Maybe I'm the daughter-in-law of the house in that sense, yeah. But you're right. What you're saying is that the masses usually would expect that, and that is why we're talking about numbers over
we're
here.
talking about numbers, right? We're talking about not one person, not two people. We can say on a whole.
Correct.
What can you do, right? Of course, everybody gets life insurance in a company, but not everyone uses it. Same case, right? So you have to create policies which basically gives more work-life balance to women. Whether somebody uses it or somebody doesn't use it, that's up to them, right? And not that everybody is burnt out, not that all women are burnt out, right? But there are only some women burnt out, or percentage of population in an organization might be burnt out.
So I think this is the right time now to come to that part of the conversation where we need to understand what exactly is burnout. Because what happens is, sometimes if we have a little bit of fatigue or we're going through stress, people start calling it burnout. So first of all, we need to find out now, what is the difference? What exactly is a burnout, and how is it different from fatigue and stress? And is it really important to actually differentiate between all of these?
Yes, absolutely important. As I said, stress is the point in time. I got some stress today in the morning. I got some stress in the afternoon. I got some stress in the evening, right? Now you can say it is some stress, but it is not some stress. It is some stress plus some stress plus some stress, right? And so, but stress goes away. Stress is always momentarily, right? It comes for some time and then it goes away. Once that situation is solved, stress disappears, right? So that's stress. But if stress prolongs for a long period of time, due to certain condition, for example, workload. Now you go to a company and you always have a lot of files on your table, a lot of work which you have to finish, and not today, every day. So, and every time you are stressed out. So this is prolonged stress. That leads to burnout. Burnout has physical symptoms. Burnout has emotional symptoms. Burnout has behavioral symptoms. Emotional symptoms, I mean, you hear it every day. Oh man, I feel constipated. Or I've got back pain. Or I get headaches, right? Unexplained headaches, where there is no medical reason why you should get a headache, but you get a headache, right? Or you think that you are, you have muscle pain, right? Or you have fatigue, you feel tired all the time. Or consumption of alcohol has gone up, or any of those substances has gone up. Or you feel depressed, you feel anger issues, you feel that you get angry very quickly. These are all symptoms of burnout, right? We don't recognize it, right? Unfortunately, we as humans, what we do is, we have a headache, we will take a Cerebral, right? We have a back pain, we'll take a Dolo or Sholo or something, right? But we don't understand that this is burnout. We want a quick fix, right?
But how do we figure it out that it's a burnout? I could actually be having a headache because probably of the pollution that's around me, or maybe I've had a bad spat with my spouse.
That's okay.
And that's the reason.
If you have a headache today, that's fine. But if you have this headache again tomorrow, and day after, and day after, if it's a regular thing, then you are not in traffic all the time.
But then how do you put your finger on it and say this is a burnout? How do you recognize that?
That's your recognition right there. Now you basically say, what's going on, right? What do I need to do? Now, as a human, you will say, man, I have to go to office now. All right, I have to do my work. So it means if I want to feel better today, I cannot, because I cannot leave all this work behind. So you make yourself capable so that you can handle this burnout, right? You make yourself at a position where you can say, all right, I know how to breathe, right? 80% of population on earth, 8 billion people, out of 8 billion people, 80% of that does not know how to breathe properly.
True.
Right? Yeah. You take 10 breaths, you will see your stress going down. Look, your brain has two parts, left side and right side. Correct. One is analytical, other one is creative. Correct. Right? If you are burnt out and you start doing some analytical things, numbers additions, right. 2 plus 3, 5, 5 plus 3, 6, you start looking at your profit and loss account.
5 plus 3 is 8. That was a googly for me.
Right, 5 plus 3 is 8. Whatever you do the numbers. The idea is that if you start adding numbers and you start thinking from your analytical side, your stress comes down. Oh. Right? It automatically comes down.
But not for everyone. Maths makes my stress go up. So अगर आप मुझसे कराएंगे मेरा तो stress ऊपर चला जाएगा.
Yeah, I mean, don't get inside sin thetas, cos thetas, and tangent thetas. But otherwise, mathematics. I mean, you know,
so that will
number
probably
addition.
थोड़ा stress, maybe because your stress is getting diverted because of that.
Because you have started using other part of your brain which is more analytical, and it basically gets your cortisol levels down.
So right? Tell me something, when someone is going through a burnout and you know people around you realize, तो कई बार क्या होता है ना, if someone actually becomes very intrigued with the way I'm feeling and if I'm going through a burnout, it might actually, instead of doing good to me, it might irk me off because I might become a recluse if I'm going through a burnout. How do you deal with such a person?
नहीं देखिए, burnout को कोई ऐसा सिम्टम है नहीं जिसमें आपको लगेगा कि सामने वालों को पता लग गया कि यार ये तो burnt out.
जैसे आप कह रहे हो ना, जैसे फैमिली में अगर कोई, अब किसी को रोज हेडेक्स हो रहे हैं, रोज आ रहा है डेली, कोई कारण नहीं है, डॉक्टर को दिखा दिया एंड द डॉक्टर सेज नो देयर इज नथिंग, जस्ट टेक अ painkiller or whatever and just go to sleep well or whatever. So now I know someone's going through
your lifestyle. The only way to reduce burnout is improve your lifestyle.
Like go for a walk and stuff.
Go for a walk. Look, we live in a country which gave yoga. Right. We live in a country which gave mindfulness, meditation, pranayamas, breathing exercises, so on and so forth, right? The unfortunate thing with us is we don't believe in it anymore. India के अंदर, right? I've been living in US from 24 years, so I came here. India में मालूम सबको है योगा, करता कोई नहीं है. यहाँ पे जो इंडिया में लोग हैं वो अनुलोम विलोम को अलोम विलोम बोलते हैं, राइट? करता कोई नहीं है यहाँ पे, मालूम सबको है. That's the problem. When you cannot give 15 minutes to your own body. Look, what I believe is, आप कोई टीवी खरीदते हैं, उस टीवी के साथ एक इंस्ट्रक्शन मैनुअल आता है, राइट? उसमें लिखा होता है कि आप इस टीवी का कैसे ख्याल रखें, इसकी सर्विसिंग कैसे कराएं, सब कुछ लिखा होता है. योगा, मेडिटेशन, माइंडफुलनेस, ब्रीदिंग, these are the instruction manuals for our body. You have to follow it, right? 2017 I was on bed. I was not even able to get up from my bed because of burnout, right? I had acute pain in my hands traveling all the way to my fingers, and there is no explanation. I took painkillers for 8 months, Tylenol 800 milligrams. And then I saw Dr. Steven Zotkoy, right? He made me better in first 20 minutes of discussion. Wow. And then I came here in India in 2021, and I was introduced to Ayurveda, right? I grew up in India. I'm from Haryana, right? Throughout my education, nobody told me anything about yoga. Nobody told me anything about pranayama. Nobody told me anything about, our way, the Indian way of doing things, right? And I'm learning it in 2021. And believe me when I say this, I am not a doctor by any stretch of imagination, right? So I cannot explain what this science is, the Ayurveda science is, but I can tell if as a common layman's language, it's magic.
It works. Absolutely.
It's magic.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no other explanation for it. So make changes to your lifestyle, right? Eat good food. Eat food which really nourishes your body rather than eating, samosas and chaats and all that stuff.
I didn't hear that. Okay, now tell me, now that we've identified the problem and we understood how is it different from fatigue and stress, how does the resiliency program, deal with this? Like if I came up for it, how would you treat someone going through burnout? First of all, the resiliency program, is it for people, who want to live a good lifestyle, they want to have a good career so that they don't end up in a burnout? Or is it also for people who are already going through one?
See, resiliency program is a very scientific solution, right? Resiliency program deals with the problem of burnout with a 360-degree view, right? It's a high-tech and a high-touch model, right? Okay. Now, the program measures a human burnout on 4 factors: enthusiasm, fatigue, motivation, and negativity. Right? So it will tell you, hey, your burnout is this level: chronic burnout, severe burnout, moderate burnout, and this is what you should do to reduce your burnout. So you can actually create your own plans based on your burnout symptoms. You can say, you know what, I feel lazy all the time. Right? It will give you some asanas. It will give you some content which you can follow on a daily basis, and that will help you change your lifestyle. You can create your meal plans, right? You can create other stuff as well, which will help you deal with these lifestyle changes, right? You don't need to do big things to make changes to your lifestyle. You don't need to go to gym for 2 hours daily. I mean, if you go to gym for 2 hours daily, that's great, awesome. But if you don't have to. If you change your lifestyle, get up in the morning, have 2 glasses of warm water before you go to the bathroom, your guts will get clean. Correct. Right? Everything starts from guts. Correct. If your guts are clean, you never get sick. Isn't it? Right? सब कुछ पेट से शुरू होता है सर. हर बीमारी पेट से शुरू होती है. पेट साफ है तो बीमार नहीं पड़ेंगे. राइट? आप हमको बोलते हैं ह्यूमन बॉडी 70% वाटर. बताइए कितने लोग पानी पीते हैं? स्मॉल चेंज है. सिर्फ पानी पीने की नहीं बोल रहे हैं. राइट? आप मेरे ऑफिस में आइए, आपको कभी somebody will serve you water every 10 minutes. पानी पिए? नहीं, I'm good. फॉर नाउ ऐसे ले लेते हैं. तो atomic changes, there is a book by James Clear. हाँ, it's called Atomic Habits. आपने वो बुक का नाम सुना भी होगा. Very famous author. And what he mentioned in his book is, to create any new habit, you have to associate it with your old habit. Okay. That's the easy way of creating a habit. अगर मैं आपको बोलूँ सुबह 6 से 7 तक आप योगा कीजिए, हो सकता है आप ना कर पाए. यार 6 बजे तो मेरा ये होता है, मेरे को यहाँ जाना होता है, ये तो नहीं हो पाएगा. लेकिन अगर मैं आपको ये बोलूँ कि सुबह उठते ही 5 मिनट ये कर लो, ब्रश करते समय ये कर लो, लंच खाते समय ये कर लो, डिनर के समय ये कर लो, और सोने से पहले ये कर लो. अब ये जो आपका रूटीन है, ये तो आपका हर रोज होगा ही ना. ब्रश तो आप हर रोज करोगे ही, सोओगे तो आप हर रोज, खाना तो हर रोज खाओगे. अब उसके साथ अगर आप ये रूटीन बना लें, then it will help you formulate that habit, which will push you towards a better lifestyle. Correct. Right? So that's one part of the program. But as I said, burnout is not a disease. Burnout is an occupational phenomena. एक पुलिस वाले का burnout एक डॉक्टर के burnout से different है. एक डॉक्टर का burnout एक स्टूडेंट के burnout से different है. एक स्टूडेंट का burnout एक टीचर के burnout से different है. और उसका burnout एक हाउसवाइफ और husband के burnout से different है. Correct. Because they deal with different situations, right? आप सोचिए एक ट्रैफिक पुलिस में जो हैं, अगर ये 47 डिग्री सेल्सियस अभी टेम्परेचर हो जाएगा जुलाई में, जून के अंदर, उस समय जब ये बाहर खड़े होके इतनी लू के अंदर ये कर रहे होंगे, गाइडिंग द ट्रैफिक,
वो तो लिटरल सेंस में बर्नआउट ही है इतनी गर्मी में.
बोथ फिजिकली, मेंटली, डन. सच अ टफ जॉब. एब्सोल्युटली. राइट? सो बर्नआउट इज, तो दूसरा सिस्टम क्या करता है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का बर्नआउट मेजर, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की रेजिलियंसी मेजर करता है.
ओके, व्हाट डज दैट मीन?
कि सो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की रेजिलियंसी मेजर करते हैं 7 फैक्टर्स पे: ऑटोनॉमी एंड कंट्रोल, रिवॉर्ड्स एंड रिकॉग्निशन, इक्वालिटी एंड फेयरनेस, वर्क कल्चर, टीम कल्चर, राइट, वर्क प्रेशर. Because अगर if let's say for example in any organization equality and fairness policy is not that great, women let's say are the opposite gender, the affected gender, जो भी उनकी पॉलिसी की डिफरेंस उसमें है. नाउ if I think that I am not being treated fairly in my organization, what would happen? My motivation will go down. My enthusiasm will go down. My negativity, नकारात्मकता increase होगी. Right? Burnout है. That's what burnout is, right? तो हम organizations को बताते हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर जो है, it gives you predictive analytics to the organization and say, hey, for your people, this is what we are doing. They are able to measure their burnout. They're able to create their plans, holistic plans, and push them towards, all these holistic ways of treating burnout, rather than getting into this antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills.
But I mean, Mr. Gupta, when someone opts for a resiliency program, usually what's the duration of it? And since you've already seen a lot of people benefit from it, usually how long does it take for a person to actually move on and get out of that burnout phase?
देखिए, burnout एक दिन में ठीक नहीं होता है. Correct. Right? But it takes time. It takes 6 months. It might take a year, depending upon how serious you are, right? And जो lifestyle habits हैं, वो एक दिन में change नहीं होती. Right? It takes time to develop a new habit. 1 day 2 day 1 week यूजुअली फिर लोग सोचते हैं बोलते हैं कि 21 दिन कुछ करोगे तो वो हैबिट डेवलप हो जाती है. यू माइट हैव हर्ड अबाउट इट, राइट? स्पेशली इन केस ऑफ smokers. If you leave for 21 days, then you are not going to smoke again. Right? That's also a lifestyle change. Right? So it takes time. So the whole program duration is 1 year. It's a yearly subscription program. So the program measures your burnout every 3 months. So you measure your burnout in January. You will come to know what your burnout level is. Based on that, you follow a resiliency plan, which will help you be more resilient. And then after 3 months, your burnout will be measured again and see if you're making any progress. Based on that, a new resiliency plan can be created for you. A new meal plan can be created for you. Right? So the application also helps you create a whole meal plan, which says this is what you should eat in breakfast. This is what you should eat in, because we deal with lifestyle conditions. See, lifestyle conditions are not treatable. Lifestyle conditions can only be managed. मेरे को अगर शुगर हो गई तो हो गई बॉस, अभी वो ठीक नहीं हो सकती है, राइट? बट आई कैन मैनेज इट विथ फूड, राइट? अगर मेरे को ब्लड प्रेशर हो गया तो हो गया, अभी वो रहेगा, राइट? कॉन्स्टिपेशन है तो है, राइट? सो द आइडिया इज हाउ कैन आई मैनेज इट, राइट? आई कैन नॉट रियली ट्रीट इट. सो 1 साल का प्रोग्राम है. और इंडिविजुअल्स के लिए वी हैव एक्चुअली लॉन्च्ड द B2C मॉडल. वी ऑलवेज वर्क विद B2B मॉडल, right? Because it's occupational phenomena. We wanted organizations to pay for or organizations' responsibility to take care of their employees.
So if we said in a B2B model, usually I'm just asking some, maybe you can answer it. आप बता नहीं सकते तो कंपनी का नाम मत लीजिएगा. But usually when you sell a B2B model, do they usually take it for people in senior management, or is it usually the interns or mid-level management? Usually, who are the people who are experiencing this burnout more?
See, it depends upon the nature of organization.
Give us an example.
Right. In a private organization,
yeah,
and this is my experience, right? Yeah. Based on my corporate experience,
yes.
More burnout is at the top level and the mid-level man. Lower level पे उतना burnout नहीं देगा. उसका reason ये है, for example, let's say I am a graphic designer in an organization of 1,000 people, and the organization is not meeting sales numbers. Do you think anyone can come to me and ask me what's going on? No. That's not my responsibility.
Accountability थोड़ी कम होगी.
Accountability top level. VP of sales, SVP of sales, right? CHROs, CEOs, CMOs, CTOs, managers, top level managers. That's where the responsibility is. So burnout is there on that level. When you come to government organizations, police, burnout is everywhere. But top level पे कम है, नीचे वाले level पे ज़्यादा है. Because the सिपाही जो बाहर खड़ा हुआ है, उसमें burnout ज़्यादा है as compared to a top level official who is sitting in his office. ये नहीं है उसको burnout नहीं है. उसको burnout
कम है comparatively, of course, yes.
Compare करें तो depend करता है कि कौन सी organization है, right? और उस organization के लोग कहाँ पे काम कर रहे हैं. Let's say doctors हैं. सो डॉक्टर्स में आपने अभी रिसेंटली सुना होगा कि डॉक्टर से ज़्यादा बर्नआउट जो इंटर्न्स आते हैं और जो मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स हैं, दे आर मोर बर्नड आउट. इफ़ यू गो टू अ हॉस्पिटल, यू विल सी लेस डॉक्टर्स रनिंग अराउंड, यू विल सी मोर इंटर्न्स रनिंग अराउंड, राइट? पीपल हु जस्ट इधर पास देयर MBBS and they are doing their internship, right? Those are the people who are burnt out in medical profession. Doctors are also burnt out, don't take me wrong, but those are more burnt out.
Right.
That's what we have seen.
So it's very industry specific.
It's very industry specific. It depends upon whether I would say if it's a public industry, if it's a public company, which is providing benefit to the public, in those kind of organizations, the lower level is more burnt out, who are reaching out to people one on one or in some way. But in corporates, we have seen that the top level, mid-level management is more burnt out.
मुझे ऐसा भी लगता है मिस्टर गुप्ता, डोंट यू थिंक दैट ये बर्नआउट वगैरह की जितनी भी हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, इट माइट बी इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक. इट ऑल्सो देयर इज अ बिग फैक्टर दैट एज आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द सपोर्ट सिस्टम, how happy you are at home, how is your personal relationship with people around you, what is the kind of, for example, the peer group that you are part of. Doesn't that also add up to it कि सोशो इकोनॉमिक आपका जो स्ट्रक्चर आपके आसपास है, that will also decide कि आपका बर्नआउट हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है.
Absolutely. See, उसका इम्पैक्ट तो हर जगह पे है.
क्योंकि मेरे ऑफिस वाले मुझे कितना भी स्ट्रेस देते हैं, अगर मैं जब घर आता हूँ, my entire family always keeps me happy, my spouse is keeping me happy, my parents, my brothers, my sister, everyone, then I'll probably come home and forget everything, and in the next day when I go to work, I'll go up as a recharged person again.
But you will again face the same burnout in your office.
But then I'll start looking forward to going back home. usually people look forward to going to work, but then you start looking forward to, so I'm saying it's all part of the game.
ऐसा होता है नहीं एक्चुअली रियल लाइफ में तो यही होता है कि जो है आई गो टू ऑफिस आई एम नॉट हैप्पी विद माय बॉस फॉर एग्जांपल and I feel really stressed out in front of him. He's somebody who's a micromanager or something like that, and it doesn't make me, it makes me really stressed out. So usually लोग जब घर आते हैं तो स्ट्रेस साथ लेके आते हैं, तो उसका हो सकता है कि one of those days you might not be in a good mood, बच्चों पे गुस्सा उतर जाएगा, कहीं पे चिल्ला पड़ोगे, राइट, किसी पे गुस्सा उतार दोगे, तुम बोलोगे मेरे को खाना नहीं खाना है, किसी का मूड खराब हो जाएगा. सो इट्स हैड इम्प्लीकेशंस ऑल ओवर, राइट. बर्नआउट, ऑक्यूपेशनल बर्नआउट के लोग, ऐसा है नहीं कि अगर आप बहुत परेशान हैं अगर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, राइट, सो इट डजंट वर्क दैट वे दैट यू कम होम एंड यू विल फॉरगेट अबाउट योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, बिकॉज दैट्स वेयर द मनी इज कमिंग फ्रॉम.
सो अभी हम हम कॉर्पोरेट बर्नआउट्स की बात कर रहे थे, ऑक्यूपेशनल बर्नआउट्स की बात कर रहे थे, बट टेल मी समथिंग, डू यू ऑल्सो कम अक्रॉस केसेस जहाँ पर, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से अ पर्सन इज हेडेड फॉर अ डिवोर्स, राइट बिफोर दैट, बिफोर he or she actually files for divorce, the entire phase when they're living together under the same roof, can't you actually have a person relationship burnout also?
See, burnout, there is nothing called, burnout has two, physical, as I said, it has
क्योंकि उसमें भी हो सकता है रोज हेडेक हो रहा हो, कॉन्स्टिपेशन हो रही है, बॉडी एक हो रहा हो, क्योंकि आप उससे स्ट्रेस से डील ही नहीं कर पा रहे, तो धीरे करके रोज का स्ट्रेस वो बर्नआउट बन जाएगा.
वही है ना. बर्नआउट की डेफिनेशन क्या है? बर्नआउट की डेफिनेशन है प्रोलॉन्ग्ड स्ट्रेस.
करेक्ट.
इफ आई एम फाइटिंग विद माई वाइफ एवरी मैं ऑफिस में खुश हूँ, बट लेट्स से आई कम बैक होम एंड आई हैड अ फाइट विद माई पार्टनर, right, or my kid, or I'm very much stressed about my kid, right, my not in a good company, I know that, but I cannot do shit about it, so that will give me stress, right? Now this stress, if it goes over a period of time, तो उसमें क्या होगा, या तो मैं उसको घर से निकाल दूंगा, या मैं खुद बर्न आउट हो जाऊंगा, राइट. एंड दैट डिसीजन, तो बर्नआउट दोनों जगह से आता है, राइट. इट्स ऑल, बर्नआउट की डेफिनेशन एक ही है, प्रोलॉन्ग स्ट्रेस. Now that prolonged stress, organization की तरफ से यूजली ज़्यादा आता है, बिकॉज बट दोज फैक्टर्स कुड बी कंट्रोलेबल, राइट. घर की तरफ से भी अगर स्ट्रेस, कोई भी किसी भी तरह का स्ट्रेस आएगा, दैट विल लीड इनटू बर्नआउट.
अच्छा, एक बहुत ही अनफॉर्चुनेट सी चीज़ है, बट अ लॉट ऑफ news that we see in the papers today, we keep seeing these young kids ending their lives, and it's really disheartening that a student, for example, I'm sure आपके पास आंकड़े होंगे, a student actually decides that he doesn't want to live anymore because of the kind of burnout that the student is experiencing right before the exams or post the exams or preparing for some exams. So if you have some figures, I would like to know some statistics.
Burnout is a very very big issue, not only in India but at a global
worldwide
level,
yeah,
worldwide.
तो थोड़े आंकड़े हैं about India, for example, कितने हैं, क्या है
इंडिया के अंदर 2022, there are about, last year about 12,000 plus students have committed suicide. एक साल में. एंड ये एक साल में जो 12,000 है, ये नहीं है कि इस साल 12,000 हुआ है, उससे पहले 10,000 हुआ था, उससे पहले 9,000 हुआ था. It's increasing from 2011 to this date. The number of suicides of students in India has increased by 70%. 70% from 2011 till date. Oh Lord. So this is really really scary. I mean, we hear almost every day an IIT Madras student committed suicide, IIT Mumbai student committed suicide, right? Kota has already 9 suicides this year. They had 26 suicides last year. They had 23 suicides the year before that. So it's a going trend in Kota, and suicides are going up, right? Kota is earning a bad name, of course, that's one thing, but student suicide is a really really big issue. And as a nation, we cannot fail them. It is a failure on us. We cannot fail them, right? I mean, it's our moral responsibility.
तो मिस्टर गुप्ता, आप तो ये आप रेजिलेंसी प्रोग्राम के, यू आर द CEO वर्ल्ड, सो यू आर द राइट पर्सन टू टॉक अबाउट दिस, कि because these things are happening around us, what do you want to say to parents? What should they do to understand their kids better and to make sure that their kids are not going to go through this? What should they do? बिकॉज आई एम श्योर कोई भी माँ बाप थोड़ी चाहता कि मेरा बच्चा जो सुसाइड कमिट करे, वो तो नहीं चाहेंगे, वो तो बेस्ट लाइफ देना चाह रहे हैं. तो व्हाट आर द टेल टेल साइंस, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दैट द किड इज गोइंग थ्रू अ लॉट एंड मे बी इज हेडेड इन अ डायरेक्शन दैट दे डोंट वांट हिम टू.
See, it is about putting stress on a student, right? Sometimes we have seen parents put their own expectations on their kids, right? You have to be a doctor, You have to get inside IIT. You have to get inside this, right? You have to do this. You have to do this. So parents' own expectations when they put it on kids and don't let kid decide what really they want to do in their lives, right? Then they always face these kind of problems. The idea is you should understand your kid, let them do whatever they want to do in life, right? I mean, I'm not saying bad things or good things, but in profession, whatever they want to become, right? And every kid is, I mean, I've done 12 years of schooling, class 1 to class 12. And you guys all also know that in a school, you have good guys, you have smart people, you have intelligent who are always first, second, thirds. And then you have backbenchers also who are 46, 47, 48, 49, right? I was also one of, not backbenchers, but middle benchers, right? But मैंने अभी तक किसी को फेलियर नहीं देखा बॉस. मैं अपने 11th-12th के बैच को देखता हूँ, मेरे को कोई ये नहीं पता लगा कि जो है यार ये बंदा तो खुद एक बेचारा क्या कुछ नहीं बन पाया. सब बन गए. People find their way, right? You don't have to tell them what to do. Correct. Let them find their way, right? And that's the exact service which you should do as parents to your kids. Right. Let them decide their own way. Let them figure out what they really want to do. Support them. Right. Make sure that they're eating good food. Yeah. Make sure that they are learning the ways of life. You are not preparing them for an exam. True. You are preparing them for life. Right? That's your motto. You're not preparing them for an IIT exam. Prepare a student for life. Right? When a student knows how to control their emotions. Right? मैं आपको बताता हूँ, अगर आप suicidal thoughts आ रहे हैं, अगर आप 10-15 बड़ी लंबी सांसें लेंगे, you will figure, आपको अकल आ जाती है. But you should know this, ना? Correct. Right? You should believe in that whole science. Right, where people are really able to manage their own their emotions, their intellect, their different things, right? So you should prepare them for that, right? In schools, we should have these compulsory subjects, where you are prepared for EMTs, or you are prepared for you are given some knowledge about yoga and how to reduce stress and how to eat good food. I mean, most of the students end up eating pizzas every day,
which is also good. I love pizzas.
But not every day. Yeah. But good food, healthy food, drink a lot of water, keep yourself hydrated, make sure your students, you give, as parent, give them freedom so that they can decide their own career, they can decide their own path. Let them be who they are.
Mr. Gupta, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. जाते जाते मैं चाहता हूँ, is there any message that you'd like to give to anyone who's watching, anyone who's listening right now? What is your message to them? What should they do in their life that they don't end up in a burnout?
Well, just remember that burnout is not a disease, right? And you really don't want to get inside burnout because it has physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, and behavioral symptoms. All I would say is love yourself, right? It is very, very important to love yourself. And give yourself some time, give your body some time, make sure that you're doing some kind of physical activity in the morning, some kind of physical activity, even if it's just a 15-minute walk in the evening. Eat good food and, take long breaths and be resilient, be on your way to resilient.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gupta. बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बात करके. Thanks so much for being on the show. But जाते जाते I just like to say one thing that ज़िंदगी में कई बारी हम इतने तनावग्रस्त होते हैं, हमें इतना स्ट्रेस होता है कि हमें लगता है कि बस सारी प्रॉब्लम्स मुझे ही है, और हम ये भूल जाते हैं that the people you work with, the people we live with, people in our family are also humans who also have problems. Once we start recognizing this, that सामने वाला भी इंसान है, हमें उनकी जब प्रॉब्लम, उनकी मुसीबतें दिखनी शुरू हो जाती हैं, तो आई थिंक हम उनके साथ ज़्यादा बेटर उनको ट्रीट करेंगे. और ये जो बर्नआउट के जो स्टेटिस्टिक्स हैं, अगली बारी जब हम मिस्टर गुप्ता से मिलेंगे तब तक ये काफ़ी गिर चुके होंगे, क्योंकि आप वो दोस्त बने जिसने अपना कंधा दिया किसी को रोने के लिए, और आप वो दोस्त बने जो एक अच्छे लिसनर बने. तो अच्छे लिसनर बनिए और ट्यून इन कीजिएगा मेरे शो को भी. आप जानते हैं ना मैं रेडियो पे आता हूँ, तो वहाँ भी सुन लीजिएगा, वहाँ भी लिसनर बन जाइएगा. पर अगले एपिसोड तक यू टेक केयर ऑफ योरसेल्फ. मैं हूँ खुराफाती नितिन और आप थे इन द गैस चेंबर्स. गॉड ब्लेस. जय हिंद, जय भारत.